And good morning, Newton Falls. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dave Lynch. I'm the city manager here for the city of Newton Falls, Ohio. And this is our Tuesday version of our Tuesday and Friday morning update. We used to do these 7 days a week, but we've cut it down to 2 days a week as the curve has been flattened for the COVID-19. But the inspiration for these things was trying to have a communication channel so that we could get some messages out to folks about what's happening in Newton Falls. In other words, getting information out that's on a local basis. It's only about a 15-minute program, Tuesdays and Friday mornings at 7:30 in the morning. Well, one of the things that we've done here in this program is talk to different businesses around town to see how they have coped during the COVID-19. And, sometimes there are big things that happen, and they happen under the radar. And what I mean by that is within the hallowed halls of these various businesses that we have the occasion where very big things happen, and that's no more true than there is with the fact of this. Here in Newton Falls, we have one of the premier audio recording studios, and I believe they do some video on occasion as well, but really one of the premier audio recording studios in the entire world. So many big names that have come into town unbeknownst to us, and that's because we have in Newton Falls, run by one of the outstanding audio engineers of all time. And again, his outstanding reputation has made this business a landmark business for those folks that are in the recording industry. And that is that in Newton Falls, we have a business called Toontown. Toontown, T-U-N-E. And that is run by really what a great audio engineer, Mike Telenka. And he's on the live line right now. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. I'm fine. How are you today?
Great, great. It's great to have you on the line. And, Mike, recording is often a kind of business that flies under the radar because the big splash in media is when a recording is released by a label or it's promoted by whoever the promoters are. And in a way that doesn't attract attention, outstanding music is being made. And Mike, right there at Toontown, Mike, you've had some pretty important musicians go through your studio, haven't you?
We've had a few here, sure.
Yeah. How about a little bit of name dropping, if you can, Mike?
Right now I'm working on a project with Billy Beck. He was the keyboard player for the Ohio Players. He wrote all their hits, basically. So we're doing a gospel album and a regular release album right now. We're working on that project at this moment. I had done work with Tony Butala of the Letterman.
Oh,
They've
sure.
been here.
Yeah.
We've done work. We've done a few albums together. Went to Philippines with them and did some live recording and done some studio recording with them also. A local band also, a very popular local band, Glass Harp.
Oh, sure.
Did a lot of recording with those guys live as well as studio stuff.
Yeah, well, they went well beyond the local scene. They really were a pretty well-known band.
Oh, yeah. No. In the 70s, they were a very well-known band around this area. Yeah. Absolutely. Them, the James Gang. There was a lot of things up and coming at the time.
Boy, that's outstanding. Well, Mike, I've been to your studio, and it's a revelation because Newton Falls has a very local charm to it. And when you walk into your studio, you feel that you are walking into one of the great recording studios in Nashville or Brentwood, California. Is it intentional, Mike, that you've got somewhat of a low profile, at least on a local basis?
The low profile is only because I want to be keep it as quiet as I can in here, obviously, because I'm recording. Yes. That helps me. And again, people come here for privacy. They don't need to be looked after or anything. They want to come in and record and work. That's what we're doing here, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And artists are, I've done some work in recording studios myself. Artists frequently are very idiosyncratic anyhow. In other words, you need to cater to their needs in a way that just allows them to be satisfied, as opposed to making a lot of noise to the rest of the world. Is that a fair way of putting it, Mike?
Right. People come in here, whether they're famous or not, and even the famous people, you help them out. Sometimes they ask you for some input, and we work together to work out certain parts of a song, and that's just part of what happens, basically, in the creative field.
Sure, sure. Well, that's one of the differences between being a producer in other forms of media, such as television or film. A producer in a recording studio really is part of the artistic flow as well. Is that a fair way of putting it, Mike?
That's correct. The producer is like a traffic cop in the studio. He's between the artist and the engineer. But today, since we have modern technology like computers and everything, sometimes the producer and the engineer are the same guy. That's what happened with me, where I was a musician writing songs, went into the recording business, learned how to record and produce at the same time, and that's where I'm at right now. So people come to me for my input, obviously, and that's part of what we do. We work together. That's the biggest thing for me. Is I'm not happy unless the client leaves happy. If he doesn't, I got to find out why, and we need to fix that, because it's to keep a positive vibe and to keep the ideas flowing all the time. You got to be positive. You can't be throwing roadblocks in the way and worrying about your own personal feelings about parts or anything. So that's one of the things I try to do, is not get too married to anything, so that when a client says, I don't like that part, I know it was your idea, it's no big deal. It's just another, like putting a brick in a building, says, that one might not work, we'll throw that out and put another one in there, and it's not personal.
Yeah. Mike, talk to me about your tracking capability, or let everybody first of all know what tracking is. You can do multiple tracks, layer upon layer upon layer upon layer.
Yes.
And you got some pretty amazing capability, because I've seen the board in your studio. Talk about that a little bit, would you?
Yeah, so I have an 80-channel console, recording console. I built it myself because I used to work for this company called CAD. They were in Northeastern Ohio. They were up in Conneaut, Ohio. Anyways, the capability I have here, I can record bands. I've recorded up to, I can do 48 channels at one time if necessary of audio coming in. I haven't had to use that, but I can. And the whole thing here is, technically, there's nothing I can't do recording-wise in this spot. If I was to, perfect example, I record the symphony in Youngstown occasionally, and I got to go there to do that recording because my room's not big enough. They like the stage and the sound of the building, so I go to Stambaugh Auditorium, set up everything, and we record, and then they take the tracks home and use them as they want, or we bring them here and we work on them from there. So I do remote recording also, but here at the studio, like I said, there's no technical hurdle that I've already haven't thought about and overcome, basically, so that anybody that comes in here and wants to do anything, whether they have a project that's already got some of their song together or no song together, or it's finished but they want to do something else, there's nothing we can't do, especially with the technology today. That gives us so much latitude. I got so many variables of things I can do because of the computer. Where in the old days, a tape machine, you get what you got. You couldn't cut and paste or move, or there's 1,000 things you can do in the computer that you couldn't do with tape. And that's generally the situation. Technology is my friend. And being a technician also, I repair electronic gear, my own gear at least, for sure. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be able to be here if I couldn't do that also. So I'm pretty much an all-in-one guy. I do more than just record and produce. I fix my own equipment and take care of my own stuff. That's the way I learned it. And being self-sufficient kind of helped me out. Like I said, in this situation, it's perfect, because if something breaks, I'll fix it later. Or we got a problem during the session, in 10 minutes I can overcome that problem, we can keep going. We don't have to stop the session. Where most guys would have a problem and they'd have to stop the session.
Yeah, they'll shut down.
I don't have to stop the session.
Yeah, Mike, let's talk about independent studios. The days when you had to be in Nashville, New York, Los Angeles, or Muscle Shoals, those days are gone, aren't they?
I didn't answer. I didn't understand the question. Who? What?
The days when you had to be in New York or Los Angeles or Muscle Shoals or Nashville, those days are gone. You can find outstanding independent studios everywhere, right?
Yes, you can.
Mike, there
Yes, you
used to
can.
be,
I mean, they're all over the place.
yeah. There was a place
But
in Beechwood called Telarc. Are you familiar with that company?
yeah, I'm familiar with Telarc. There used to be a Beechwood Studios
Right,
also.
right,
I
right.
remember the guy that owned it. I don't know if it's still there. See, what has happened in the last 15 or 20 years, there's been a big shakeout of big recording studios. A lot of them have closed.
Yeah.
I mean, the one recording studio I worked at in New York, Right Track Recording, that place had to close because, again, they didn't have, yeah, they had computers, they had everything else, but the times are changing. Right now, today, if you own a computer, you can have a little studio in your house and be doing pretty good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's just my place offers what I offer is people come in here, they don't have to think about the technical end of the computer. They just play their music and they be an artist. That's what I'm more concerned about. You come here to record. You don't come here to push buttons or do nothing. You come here to sing, record, do your thing, and then that's what I try to do for everybody. And again, studios, things have changed. Even I remember 15 years ago, Abbey Road, where the Beatles used to record, was for sale.
Oh,
now, I'm sure some record company bought it, and they own it, but, you know, when they sell the Vatican, when the Vatican's for sale, you know something's wrong in the business. So it's a kind of, I'm working in a strange type of business now because, again, technology has allowed everybody to do what I'm doing at home, basically.
But allow when people are doing things at home, they're not focused as they would be in your studio. And by the way, it doesn't mean they're doing it well either.
Well, that's true.
Mike. And I'm sure you've seen a number of instances where you can right off the bat identify something that's done in a home studio because it's still a little rough around the edges.
Right. Well, again, experience is the best teacher and the best person you can have when you're doing something, obviously. So your experience with your equipment is what's important, especially for a client. People don't like to wait. When they're in the middle of a recording session, they want to move ahead and get things done. That's usually the thing that I focus on. I don't dilly-dally when I'm working, and we try to get a product out. By the end of the session, we want to have something done here. And like you said, people have their own recording studios. God bless them. They learned in a school, and school teaches you lots of wonderful things. I mean, I taught at YSU for almost 5 years recording. And again, there's a lot of young people coming up that they love the recording business and want to do it. And it's just the difference between their situation, and because they might only have 2 or 3 microphones and a computer, and they could do music, lots of stuff. But here I have a drum set, I have a piano, I have a Hammond B3 organ, I have other instruments, guitar amps, guitars, things that people can come in and say, we got to do this part. What are we going to do? Here, plug in and go to work. That's why I have a full-service studio.
Sure.
I can do anything here.
Mike, have you noticed with all the technology that's available, the multi-layer tracking, that sometimes artists forget that sometimes simple is better. They tend to want to have things that are overproduced. Have you seen that problem, Mike?
Well, I've seen that a lot with the younger, a person that has less experience with recording, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's the speech you give them, Mike, when they're leaning in that direction?
I don't give them a speech. I don't give anybody a speech. What I do, what I try to do, is what we try to do is come to a point where once they do something and we're overdoing it, and I'm going, if you think that sounds better, my suggestion would be, we're not done. We're never done with the product until the client says so. If he wants it overproduced, that's okay. But what I try to tell them is, take it home, listen to it, make sure you like what's going on. And if I think it's that overproduced, I'll give my 2 cents. But again, it's the artist in the end that makes the decision. He's the so-called producer. He's the one that makes the final decision as to what he wants on his product. I will make a suggestion. If he doesn't listen to me, that's his freedom of choice of listening to me or not. Most people do, and they go by what I say. But the people that don't, that's okay, because when they take it home and then they come back maybe a year later and we're working on another song, and I might say, yep, you're right, because the last time you said that and I didn't listen. So it's the person that doesn't have experience that doesn't know they're overdoing their thing. Mostly the people with experience know, or I might tell somebody that has experience saying, you don't have to do that. We could just do a two-part harmony instead of a three-part harmony, and that sounds just as good, and we don't need to do, or a four-part if we're overdoing it then.
Yeah, maybe better. If you had a chance to talk to the guy that developed the Wall of Sound, Phil Spector, what do you think he'd think about the industry right now?
He would think that the industry obviously has changed tremendously compared to the days when he was in the studio, because at that time, everybody had to be in the studio at the same time to produce the record. Today, we don't have to do that. Today, you can piecemeal it. You can have a drummer come in, lay down drums. A bass player could lay down bass later. Somebody else across the country could lay down guitar and keyboard, and they can come in here and do vocals on top of that. Where in those days, in the 60s and the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and part of the 80s, you had to be there. You had to be part of the recording session, because that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's how you got the sound. That's how the Wall of Sound came together, is because they had 3 keyboard players, 2 bass players, a couple drummers sometimes. You know what I mean? There were multiple instrumentalists, but they didn't play all at the same time. Again, they had sheet music in front of them, and they like a traffic cop. And Mr. Spector would have been the traffic cop, the producer, saying, don't play here. The music says this guitar player plays this part, that guitar player plays that part. That's what he would have, he would say, obviously, today. And the things that he couldn't do then that we can do now, like fix a pitch on a vocal, or slip the time of the vocal, or a part of a played part, meaning we could move it forward or backwards in increments of milliseconds if we had to, just to get the feel right.
Sure.
He played it right, he just rushed this part or something, we can pull it back. Those are things that Mr. Spector would say, damn, we couldn't do that then. We can do it now, though.
Yeah, but the truth is, Mike, you can fix a pitch here and there, that sort of thing, but I don't think we've developed the technology where you can make a bad singer into a good singer. Has that arrived yet, Mike?
Well, you can't put feeling. The big thing here is singing the right notes is one thing, but if you don't put feel into what you're doing, I don't have a button for that.
Yeah.
Okay? So
I got it.
If somebody's singing something, he can sing the notes, and look, a person can come in here and their mother could say, you're a really good singer. And because his mother said he's a good singer, he could believe that he's a good singer, comes in, sings, and there are, again, you're not listening to your emotional content that's coming out of your mouth. You're just listening to the notes. That's what I get a lot of. Younger people I'm talking about.
Sure.
I'm not talking about experienced people, because I get experienced people that come in here and knock my socks off when they open their mouth or play an instrument, because they've got experience and they're very good at it. But the people that you can't, in my case, if somebody does their own rendition of a song, like I said, I can't push a button to give it more feel. They're the ones that have to do that. I can fix the pitches, and I don't like to fix pitches only in very incremental places, where at the end of a phrase, or when they just come into a note, they might just a little sharpen and just bring that beginning of it, but the rest of the phrase is good, because I'm always about the feel of what's going down more than it being perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect to me. It just has to feel good.
Yeah, I know. Last night I was having a meal, and in the background we had playing B.B. King, and I realized this guy is not a very good singer, but there was so much heart and soul coming through what he was doing that I wouldn't have changed anything. No,
you wouldn't. Again, that's his style. That's his feel. That's what he puts across. And that's why people buy his records. They like everything. They like the product as it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right. Don't fix the crooked smile on the Mona Lisa.
Doesn't need to be fixed.
Pardon me, don't fix the crooked smile on the Mona Lisa, right?
Right, right. If it was the way that the artist intended it, that's his genius coming out, basically. Or you buy a record, or you don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You buy a recording.
You download.
It's a
You
download
download
kind of
something.
thing. Yes, you buy a download today because you like the song, not whether it was recorded in digital or analog, or this person made a mistake here or did that. No, you like the whole thing. You're listening like you buy an apple in the store. You like the way it looks, and you eat it. This is the same thing with music.
Yeah.
You listen to it, says, "Oh, I love that song. It's so good," and you buy it.
Yeah, that's great. By the way, we've been putting your number up on the screen, 872-3365. And also, I believe that Tom has the location of your website. It's toontownrec.com, toontownrec.com. And that's how you get in touch with Toontown. And folks, one of Newtontown's best kept secrets is the existence of this outstanding international quality level recording studio right in downtown Newton Falls. And the other thing I suppose I want to get to before we adjourn here, Mike, is COVID-19.
But one more thing,
yes.
David. I hate
yes.
to cut you off.
Oh,
but
that's all right.
Now that you're telling everybody, it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah, well, you're going to put me on a commission, right?
Of course.
Okay. I haven't talked about the COVID-19 in your studio.
Right.
Have you had to operate in a little bit different world or a different way of doing things, Mike?
Well, the good thing about this place is, again, it's big enough that the musicians don't have to, they can sit 6 feet apart easily, number one. Number two, again, I tell people to take the precautions they need to feel safe. They got to come in with a mask. If you're going to sing, you can't sing with a mask. If you want to play with a mask on, that's your freedom to do whatever you want to do.
Sure.
So that's why I have this place. And then when people come into the control room, we're listening to music, they're standing about 6 feet apart from each other. We're practicing all the safe measures that we can to make the music happen.
Sure. Well, Mike, I'm glad that not only is COVID-19 been dealt with in a way that allows you to continue to go forward, but I like telling the story of people that are doing outstanding things right under our nose. Mike, congratulations for your great work at Toontown, and please let us know at City Hall if there's anything we can do to help you expand on your success even further. Okay, Mike?
I certainly appreciate it.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care, Mike.
Have a great...
That's Mike Telenka, outstanding proprietor, operator of record producer, recording producer, I should say, these days, over at Toontown. And folks, check out his website, Toontown Rec. That's toontownrec.com, and find out more about it. And, everybody these days considers themselves their own producer of some kind of media, people doing their own blogs, people doing their own YouTube recordings, people posting things on Facebook. But there is that very highest level of production quality that you can only get if the man in the booth is someone with the experience of a Mike Telenka. So, folks, if you really want to make an impact, that's a very good alternative, and Mike will make you sound great. Well, folks, that wraps up another one of our Newton Falls morning updates. We like to talk to businesses to see how they're doing and expanding. We certainly appreciate and praise our Commerce Association for the great work that they've done in town and the way they've interfaced with our community. So shout out to all of them as well. And as I say at the end of each one of these broadcasts, God bless America and God bless the city of Newton Falls.